What's with these high Jeep prices like this? We have the Wrangler Rubicon X 4xe. We also have a great little Jeep Sport right here. This is a Wrangler Sport. This is the Sport S 4x4, and it stickers for $66,000, which is not insignificant. And not everybody wants a Jeep Wrangler, even though they actually earn the Jeep name. A lot of people are just wanting something like this. The Grand Cherokee, which is one of their most popular models. The 4x4, this is a Jeep. As you can see, this is a Summit, and it's a very popular model. You see lots of Grand Cherokees all over the place. But unfortunately, when we look at the Grand Cherokee L Summit Reserve 4x4, this sticker's at a whopping $94,385 right there. Meaning out the door, you're likely going to spend with taxes and extras well over $100,000. I mean, just look down the lot here. We see Jeeps upon Jeeps. We get Willys, we get Sports, we get more Willys, as well as extra no-name brands. We have Willys, we have Renegades, we have a whole lot up here, and Rubicons, all sorts of makes, models, and styles of the Wrangler, but none of them are selling. They're all sitting here, and they've all been here as long as I have. I've been visiting this lot from time to time, always shopping, and I find that vehicles like this have been here for literally months. I've seen this vehicle here forever. I've seen that vehicle and the other one as well. So it's strange. Why aren't some of these Jeeps selling? There's lots of selection. It feels like people are buying again. Sales are up. We're talking about plug-in hybrid, and Jeep is actually owning the plug-in hybrid space in North American vehicles, and yet their overall sales are not doing well. Why? What's going on? And what is the CEO saying about this whole problem?
Very important to show to the world that we can do the perfect Jeep with the capability of Jeep, with a lot of technology, unbelievable performance, and BEV, battery electric vehicle. One of the pillars of our strategy, we call it freedom to choice, because freedom is number one original value that Jeep as a brand embraced, right? And freedom to choice to us means to give the market and the consumer the opportunity to select many, many different options of powertrain. In the industry today exists 7 different powertrain system options. We can offer 6 in our range. This one will be BEV only, and as I said, it's a perfect Jeep.
They want to expand on the US market. They want to develop more of the US market and create more models that are appealing to the US buyer. Now, a lot of these electric vehicles that they're coming out or they're proposing to come out may impact some of the vehicles like these. They want to come out with a Recon version, which is a full EV version of the Jeep Wrangler like we're looking at right here. But that's all on the back of the plug-in hybrid and the 4xe. And as well, they want to come up with an optional upgraded EV electric vehicle called the Wagoneer S, which they plan to bring out here in next year in 2025. But in the meantime, this 2024 was supposed to be the last year of the Jeep Wrangler 392. That's right, that's the hot version with the V8 engine that actually comes out with 470 horsepower. They actually promised 2024 would be the last year of that. But as I look online, I'm seeing a ton of vehicles here, the 392 Jeeps that were supposed to be end of the road, supposed to be final edition, which now they're calling the 25s final edition because they can't sell them. And instead, I'm seeing these Jeep Wrangler 392s here. There's one here for $133,000. There's another one here for $120,000, another one for $117,000. You get the gist. Who's got $130,000 to lay around to buy on a brand new Wrangler? It doesn't matter if it's got a V6, a Turbo 4, or a V8 engine. $120,000-$30,000 for a Jeep Wrangler? Then you're into luxury tax territory in Canada. That adds another 10% out the door plus GST. That $130,000 Jeep Wrangler 392 ends up costing you $150,000 out the door. Who has that? We're talking now, we're into Porsche 911 territory or premium luxury brands. Premium, these are not. Sure, they're a lot of fun, and a lot of people like the Wranglers for what they were, an honest, low-cost option for going off-roading. People that should be able to afford these are high school kids coming out, maybe looking for their first fun vehicle. Yeah, because they got off-road capabilities. You got fun parts. You can take the roof off the vehicle. Yes, you can unclasp the hood. That doesn't look like very secure there, but it works, and people like these because of their general simplicity. But they're not charged as a simple vehicle, and that's a big reason why they're not selling. And according to Filosa, in about the next couple of years, or by 2027, they anticipate to have actually 13 different labels rather than the current 10 they have right now. And even models like this were planned to actually get an expansion. They're going to do a revision of this vehicle here, which is currently the Compass as we see right here. And it's their very basic SUV by Jeep. It was their low-cost SUV. But yet we have a Compass Altitude 4x4 here, and it's $49,200. So this is a base SUV by Jeep, and it's costing $50,000 out the door. This is $55,000, $60,000 for this unit.
We are working on a project that will deliver to the global markets, starting from US, a Jeep, a real Jeep, at $25,000 with battery electric. And then we will offer this Jeep with other powertrains, even lower price than that.
And the Compass was slated to get a full skin rechange, but due to poor sales, they are not selling. And is it any wonder with the cost of living and paying over 50 grand for an entry-level SUV that they're going out of sale? I mean, here's another one that actually was discontinued. We're looking at another Jeep product. Of course, great little tow hooks, nice aluminum wheels, but this is the Cherokee right here. Not the Grand, but the base Cherokee. These also got discontinued recently because of poor sales. They also are getting discontinued because of the lower profit margins, and that's where Stellantis is trying to make up all their profits, is on the margins. They don't worry about the low-cost vehicles priced accordingly. Instead, they're going to charge a high amount of money trying to upmarket any of their products. And so, well, this is what most people think about when they think off-roading and Jeep, and this guy is definitely getting his money's worth out of this unit. Clearly has all the extras on there. It's mud infested, but the reality is most people don't need it for that. Most people are looking for their Jeeps, their Cherokees, their Grand Cherokees, Compasses, just for the day-to-day all-terrain, all-wheel drive prowess that they need when the snow hits the ground or it's a little wet. That's all most people are looking for from their SUV. That's all most people are looking for from their SUVs, but the cost of living crisis is catching up so aggressively that people can't even afford to buy a basic SUV like a Compass. Hence, at $50,000, I'm not buying one anytime soon. I can't afford it. I wish I could. Not happening. It's quite interesting with vehicles like this that they've tried to go upscale with on one of these brand new full-size Wagoneers like this. They're adding another one to the fleet, the Wagoneer S, which promises to be a full-size luxury SUV like this, but with full electric drive. And the Recon on the Wrangler is going to be the other one, which is sort of ironic considering a Wrangler is usually an outdoorsy vehicle. Last thing you want to do is to have to try to plug it into a tree, right? But what they're planning on doing is by 2027 have a target of 1.5 million units sold collectively in the Jeep brand globally. And we know vehicles like these upscale Wagoneers like this, these Wagoneers are 100 grand. As you move into the Wagoneer, the Grand Wagoneer, then you're talking about vehicles that are closer to $120,000, $130,000. Meaning that you can easily get into an Audi Q8, you can get an SQ8, you can certainly get into BMW X5, possibly almost X7 territory, and those actually have a little pedigree whether you like the reliability or not. These, in fact, are not known necessarily for reliability, so what are you getting differently here? Other than the Jeep brand specifically, you're paying premium import German dollars, but at least that's what you're getting. You're getting a little bit of that pedigree. This is trying to compete with those, and I'm not so sure that they have what it takes to compete with the tall Germans standing on the corner. And Filosa with Stellantis is trying to bring other vehicles and other brands specifically. We also see another expectation that the Renegade, you know, that little hot rod vehicle that was pint size, even smaller than the Compass, not all that reliable, they plan to bring that to North America next year with full EV. So it's going to be their $25,000 price point, with the hopes of that people like myself that don't have the money can actually maybe go out and buy and contribute to the Jeep welfare. Well, I'm not so sure. We'll see. Time will tell, and ultimately that'll likely be a rebranded Fiat product. But at the end of the day, we have a vehicle that they promise will be about $25,000, but you and I both know by the time that actually rubber hits the road, that's probably going to be more like $40,000, $45,000 all in. That's just the way this game goes. They always big promises, big dreams, dashed by a dose of reality. So while Stellantis is trying to get their sales up 50% up by 2027, I wish I could increase my personal revenue by at least 50% in a year or two. That would be wonderful, but I'm not so sure this is happening. In a cost of living crisis where everybody's trying really hard to hold on to their dollars, these big corporate entities here just try even harder to extract and sap that money out of your pocket. I mean, this is all I have, just a little empty paper and false promises and receipts of once gone by and times that I actually enjoyed a burger because I don't have a lot of money to eat a burger every day. So that's the end of the day. The cost of living crisis is catching up to a lot of people, and it doesn't matter. You could say, I promise to have all these vehicles for this price point, just not so sure that that price point is low enough for the average consumer. I know for most people I've talked to on the channel, they say, you know what, if you cut the price of this vehicle here by 50%, they'd probably take it. If you trim this down to about 30 grand for a loaded up Wrangler, you'd probably buy it. Even the Dodges, if you trim them down by half as well, people would probably buy them. And as well, the pickup trucks as well, the Ram, part of the Stellantis team, if you drop those down, you'd get a lot more sales. I mean, let's face it, with the average transaction price going up about $48,000, $49,000 today, and the average car payment right now is about $735 based on experience statistics. And on top of that, even worse, the average loan delinquency rate for a lot of these vehicles are rising every single month, every single year over year. Anywhere ranges from 4.5% to about 6.1% currently are the number of people that are actually defaulting on their vehicles. In other words, having to give away that beautiful, shiny new vehicle that they buy, maybe own for the next few months. And I had somebody else reach out to me too. His name's John, and John said that he also, very similar as the other story I shared with you previously, I'm getting a lot of emails from people reaching out saying, you know what, their struggles are real. So this gentleman, John, he's a single guy, he's a carpenter, and unfortunately he himself bought himself a vehicle like this. He got himself a Grand Cherokee like this, and very similar to this specification. I think his was a little more simpler. I don't believe he was more base model, but he said he actually, same story, same storyline. He didn't lose his job like the other story that we heard. He in fact had another scenario. His rent went up because now he lives in a larger city. I believe he said New York. And what ended up happening was the rent he was paying was taken over. The owner, the landlord of the place he was living in, decided to crank up the rent, but he didn't have a lot of choices. And we all know the big cities right now are in this real cost of living crisis, and even more so, living homes and rentals are all on the upswing. But unfortunately, working a trades job, he didn't have a lot of extra money laying around, and it was either live or not live. And so go back to the bank, and he told me basically he was starting to eat cat food and a little bit of mac and cheese just to get by every single day. It was getting to the point where he finally had to give up on those items. He's skipping meals, and now on top of it, he had to give the vehicle back, the Grand Cherokee that he owned. He had to give that back to the bank. He walked in gracefully, said, here you go, and he has to start taking public transportation and a little bit of cabs. So it's a sad state of affairs. When I'm getting these stories, they're heartbreaking every single day that I'm hearing these people struggling with the cost of living, and all that keeps happening is the price of these vehicles just keep going up, up, up. I mean, they're beautiful vehicles, and who doesn't like a gorgeous Jeep like this? I mean, we'd all like to have something like this, but at the end of the day, I mean, there's a reason a lot of these vehicles are filling up on the lot. People aren't buying them because they simply can't afford it. Cost of living crisis is going up, obviously inflation, wages aren't following suit, and sadly, these manufacturers are doing everything in their power to incentivize but get you in the door, and you end up paying the majority of that back anyway. They never lose a buck, and at the end of the day, all we do is keep feeding the beast. And the worst part is, I'm seeing it, I'm hearing it, repossessions of cars, trucks, SUVs, and as well homes. Unfortunately now, people are a lot of times having to give up where they live, the car they drive, and it's just a real heartbreaking scenario. So all I want to see is some manufacturers start to empathize with a lot of what's going on out there and actually start providing vehicles that are more affordable, more cost effective, maybe a simpler version of this, maybe smaller engine, a simpler car. Obviously, not everybody needs a full-size SUV, and yes, you can still find yourself those real cheap and dirty down in basement price type SUVs by the likes of Nissan and some of those brand manufacturers, but those are becoming harder and harder to find, and some of those smaller vehicles or entry-level vehicles by a lot of manufacturers are going away. We're even seeing by Jeep here, for example. Their Compass, which is supposed to be their entry-level SUV, other than maybe the Renegade, is up to over $40,000, $45,000, almost $50,000 out the door. It's even more. It's just absolutely out to lunch. And of course, with all of that said, there's a new issue going on. A lot of these vehicles, as they start to sit, we're starting to hear a lot of these vehicles lasting a year, 2 years, actually 500 days supply we're seeing with a lot of these vehicles, especially Jeeps, Rams, Stellantis, a lot of these projects, Jaguar as well, are not selling, and they're sitting for a long time. So that's now finally, for the first time almost in history, that we're seeing this epidemic of problems. And it has to do with what we're seeing here, and it's maybe not obvious. We're talking about bad tires, batteries, and as well the fluids under the hood. Yes, that's right, lot rot. You want to check that out. I talk about the whole problem that's actually becoming an epidemic in new car sales. Hope to see each and every one in the next one. See you real soon. Bye-bye.